we will cover a couple of points. We will cover two elements. We will cover communication, and we'll also cover influence, right? And I have built this entire content on keeping in mind the business communication as the key focus area, right? So we will not be talking about only communication, but I'll be tilting a bit or slightly towards business communication, and how what we're learning can build your employability, right? So when I was thinking about it, I had that as the key focus point. How can I help the youngsters of today build their employability? How can I help those who are already employed also build their employability? Because in the times that we are passing through and in the times that are to come, I believe employability will be a critical differentiator as far as career growth is concerned, right? So that is what I have tried to do. And so we will look at reading skills. I'm not sure how many of you have attended a session on how to read better and faster. We will cover writing skills. We will cover business writing skills. We will cover report writing. We will cover a lot of elements that hopefully will help you in your professional life. And we will also cover the importance of writing good, effective email. We will also cover listening skills, very, very important. And for me, the most important of communication skills is listening skills. And we will also cover speaking skills. And in that, I will also cover presentation skills. We will also cover assertiveness. How do you become more assertive without becoming arrogant? Very, very important, because no communication session can be complete without us learning how to be assertive. How do I say no without hurting the other person? How do I agree to disagree, right? And while we may have difference of perspectives, which we certainly will have, but how do we ensure that there is respect in that relationship? I will also cover something which is very important, is your interpersonal relationships, or IPRs as they are called. How do you use communication as a skill to improve your interpersonal relationships? Those relationships could be personal or could be professional. In that, we will cover social styles. Some of you may have attended a session that I did on social styles, and that was quite a while back. So we'll cover social styles, and we will also cover communication styles. And this and more is what I propose to do in this series, right? And my urge, my request, my recommendation is, please make sure that you attend almost all of these sessions, because all of them are nicely weaved in. They are interrelated. They are not exclusive to each other. So it will be good if you can mark your calendars as time for communication skills every Saturday, starting sharp at 6:30. And so it will be helpful for both me and everyone on the call to be on the same page, so that we don't have to go back and forth in terms of what we want to learn. So that's what I had in mind when I was designing this series. My question to everyone is, what is your expectation from this series? Can I hear some voices? So what's your expectation from this series?
To be a better communicator. Anand bhai.
Correct. Amit bhai, thank you. And while that is a very broad topic that you have shared, how do I become a better communicator, right? So we will cover various elements on how do I become a better communicator. And for me, personally speaking, for each one of us to become better communicators, I think so. We need to become better listeners, listening to understand and not to reply, right? So that's a point. And let me make my notes so that I don't forget. What are your expectations? So better communicator. Anything else? What are your expectations? So that I'm asking this question so that I in my mind know what you want and I can design my content accordingly.
The things
Sir,
which helps us in professional life.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Uh, Things which help us in professional life.
Okay, so how do you become? Okay, so how does it help you professionally? So it helps you in your professional growth, right? So okay, so growth is one. So what else?
Anand,
Yeah.
uh, uh, we understand sometimes written or verbal communication, but we are not much aware about the body language. So body
Okay.
language is
So
a very important part of communication.
So let me write this down so that I don't forget. So body language, definitely we will cover that. Hasmukh bhai, certainly we will cover that. What else?
We want to,
Anand,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
please go ahead. Okay, so what
We,
I was saying was, Anand, conflict handling. You were talking about ability to say no, right? But if we
Correct.
could talk about the various conflicts that might come up in a workplace and how to handle them, that would be great.
Okay, so that Prakriti we will cover in assertiveness, but let me still make a point on my phone so that I don't forget. So how do I manage conflict? And we will cover that when I cover the assertiveness point, right? So and at the age and stage that most of
one
you
more
are,
thing I want to say,
yes,
Anand bhai,
yes,
we are interacting with the outside people to whom we have not seen any time, many years, but
that's
we
right.
want to communicate to them what we are looking for, getting reply from them in respect to the our queries or our requirement of the specifications. This is I'm talking about the professionally, but
That's right.
we have to tell them very clearly. Means we have to. I want to more improve in that how we shall tell to the opposite supplier or service provider that what we are
Expecting.
expecting, looking for from them.
Correct. Got it. That's a good point. That's a very good point. So I'm making a note in terms of communicating with the external world, and that too virtually.
sir,
So, so how do I effectively communicate with the external world and do that on a virtual platform? Because today, because of the pandemic, we may not be able to meet each other face to face. So how do I make effective communication with vendors, suppliers, contractors, and that too on a virtual medium? Okay, got it.
Yes,
Any
please.
other
Thank
points?
you.
sir, while communicating with the other person, what I feel is that I am more concerned about what I want to say to him rather than
That's right.
what he's telling to me. So I want to improve upon that.
Correct. That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. So we'll cover that in listening, right? So am I listening from the other person's point of view or am I listening from my own frame of reference, right? So am I running my own autobiography in my mind? Is it only me, or am I keeping the focus on the other person? So that's a good point. We will cover the 5 levels of listening, and what you are just mentioning is the 5th level of listening, where we will be able to understand what the other person is saying, and in that we will try to learn that how do I listen without judging, how do I listen without agreeing or disagreeing with the content that is being shared, how do I listen without taking a stand or taking a stance on what has been discussed, right? So that's a very, very difficult thing to achieve, and if at a very young age most of you are able to start learning this, I'm sure it is going to hold you in good stead in the future. But that's a good point, very good point. Thank you for uh, that point. How do I understand the other person, just not talk about me myself, right? So good point, good point, very nice. So we have 6 points as of now. Let's look at 4 more.
In chat, we have one more. Jyoti ma'am is saying she wants to know more about kinds of communication.
Okay, so various kinds of communication. Okay, we'll cover that. We will cover, as I said, we'll cover verbal, we'll cover written, we'll cover non-verbal, we'll cover various elements of communication, but I'm just making a note of it so that I don't forget. Thank you, Ashish, for reading that out from the chat box. So please don't write on the chat box because I don't have the chat box open on my screen. My suggestion is you may just unmute yourself and share.
Sir, how do we put ideas and thoughts in front of people who are more experienced than us in a particular field? So
Very
how
good.
to freely put an idea or a concept in front of them?
Presenting to senior stakeholders.
Anand, I just wanted to add to that. Sometimes we're expected to be super crisp and just, just state the outlines. And sometimes we're expected to just give the depths and, all the details. So when we're talking to senior stakeholders, how do we differentiate when to do what?
We'll cover this in the communication styles. So there are people who would be interested in the what of your proposal. There are people who will be interested in the how of your proposal. There'll be people who will be interested in the who of your proposal. There'll be people who will be interested in the why of your proposal, right? So I need to be agile, alert, attentive when I'm talking to my stakeholders on a day-to-day basis. What are they focusing upon, and how do I know what they focus upon? By checking what are the questions they ask. So my suggestion to all the young boys and girls on the call is, in all meetings, make sure you carry a notepad. In all meetings, make sure you have a register where you're not just capturing the minutes of the meeting, but also checking out what are the questions a particular person is asking, and you will see a trend emerging, and sometime in the future when you have to present to that set of senior people, you would fairly have an idea that okay, he is or she is a person who is more focused on the execution. He or she is more focused upon the source of the proposal, so on and so forth, right? So we will cover the 4 styles of communication. While different studies name it differently, we will cover the 4 styles. You may call it whatever we call it, but the essence remains the same, right? So that's a good point. That is a very good point. We definitely will cover this in the time that we have. Good point, Prakriti. That's a good question. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 till now. So add one more. Not necessary you need to add, just in case, but just in case you have something you can add.
I have one more question. I don't know if we should add this or not, but like, if we will not, for communication, you need to have things to say, right? And for that, you need to read.
What if you don't have anything to say?
Exactly. So for building opinions and building perspectives, you need to read first. So
Correct.
if anything on that domain.
Importance of reading. Yeah, we'll cover that. Okay. So let's get started, and give me a minute. There is someone at home. Just give me a minute. I'll be back. Just a second. Okay, so let's get started. One of the things I thought one of you will ask me is, how do we influence stakeholders, right? So if I can add to that list of 9 or 10 points, it is so important that we understand the importance of influencing and not get into the mindset of convincing. And many times, knowingly or unknowingly, majorly unknowingly, we try to convince someone which is at best a short-term remedy, if at all it is, to the problem that you have, right? So how do I influence people? Okay, so broadly, that's 9 or 10 points that you have shared with me. In case you have some more, you can always WhatsApp me. We will cover this. As I said, this is a very long series, and I hope we will be able to do that every Saturday. And I think so. Most of 2019 will go in, or rather 2021 will go in understanding the various elements of communication. And also, good news, bad news, I don't know. I'm going to give you some work at the end of each of our sessions, and you need to complete the work before you are allowed to enter into the next session. Right? So make sure you have time not just to attend this session, but also do some work that I'm going to ask you to do it, because one of the things I have realized that without action learning projects, we generally will be only hearers of what we are hearing. We will not be doers of what we are supposed to do. And unless I do, I will not be able to retain what I have heard, and the knowledge that I gain by hearing will only remain knowledge. If it gets evaporated pretty fast, we need to be able to translate that into skill, right? So be ready for some work, right? And any doubt on this question or on this statement? Do you agree? Do you all agree with this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes,
So
sir.
good, thank you. So what do you think is effective communication, and what do you think is not so effective communication? Give me an example.
Effective is when what you're trying to say and what is actually conveyed is the same.
Correct. So that is global gyan. Give me an example.
Effect, effective is when you're trying to say something and you convince the person.
Or influence the person.
Yeah, or influence the person.
That's
That
right.
is effective.
Give me an example. Okay, so let me give you a case in point. This is the month of April, and for most of you who are working, this also is the time that you have performance conversations with your managers. Either you would have already have had that conversation, or you would be scheduled to have a performance discussion with your manager. For example, if you are my manager, and I know that I have a performance discussion with you lined up, let's say tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So how should I prepare for an effective communication in that session, so that the time that I spend with my manager is well utilized? So what should I do? I'll give an example. In my report that I have to send to my manager, based upon which I will be appraised, or my performance will be appraised, is, let's say, performance planning, or the discussions for the performance year of 2020 and 2021. So in that preparation, what should I be doing? I should be thinking about what are the 3 things, or what are the 4 things, or what are the 5 things that I have contributed that has built the team's performance. In my talk, I should be objective. I should have data points there. I should not just be talking qualitative, like the statement that Prakriti just said was a qualitative statement. Nothing wrong with that statement, but I need to go one step further and ensure that the qualitative statement are also backed up by something which is quantifiable, not just a subjective statement, but also something which is objective, something which can be measured. right? So very, very important that especially in the business context, especially in the professional context, you have numbers to support what you are doing. Second point, a question to you is, and this is for all the young boys and girls who are going to get into a job kind of a scenario or are in the first couple of years in your job. So think about this scene. Let's say it's your interview, your last round of interview, and some very senior people are there to take your interview, and it is a face-to-face interview. So hypothetically, just imagine it's a face-to-face interview. So, and as you were getting into the office, you parked your vehicle, and as you were coming into the office, there was someone who was not aware that you were there. He, by mistake, put his dirty shoes, which was filled with mud, on your shoes, and now your shoes are all muddy. And what you did is, as a reflex action, which most boys do, I don't know how girls do it, but this is what most boys do, is they kind of rub their shoes against their trousers. Now the trouser is also dirty, your shoes are also dirty, and you are in a mess. And here you are into the room or the interview room, and that senior person looks at you and looks at your shoes. What will be your response? Am I still audible? So what will
do we need to give a response if they're just looking at the shoes?
Yeah, if that person says that, why are you in this condition?
Okay.
So just to make it slightly complicated.
Okay, so they are asking me what why are your shoes like this, or why are you dressed like?
Correct.
I would be
So
honest. I'd say something like this happened.
Okay. So you would say that I was parking my vehicle and someone came and stepped onto me. Okay, so you would say that. Okay, so that could be one possible answer. What are the other possible answers? What are the other answers?
Sir, smile is the good thing to answer everything.
Correct. But you have to say something. Obviously, when you say that with a smile, it definitely helps. But what would you say?
It's all right. We'll get it clear. Clear. Means we have to be very calm in that situation.
Correct. And generally it is difficult because the pressure of the moment does not allow us to be calm, right? And while we want to be calm, but many times we are not able to maintain that composure, which is so important. But good, Pradeep bhai, thank you for that answer. Anyone else? So this is going to be interactive, right? So you don't expect me to just do all the talking. We are going to learn together. So my response, if I was in that situation, my response would be, no excuses, sir. I ensure that this will not happen again. Because the minute I try to blame it on someone else, it does not look good on my part. Because I'm trying to make some excuses and I'm passing the buck onto someone else. A good, effective way of communicating, a good, effective way of handling that situation, in my opinion, would be apologies, sorry, no excuses. I will ensure it does not happen again. right? Because that's not the moment, that's not the occasion for me to play a blame game. Accept it and move on, right? So that gives you that cool, calm composure that is needed, right? And moving on, we are going to do a lot of these situational case studies. And a couple of things which I want to ask you is, what do you think is communication skills, and why do we feel communication skills are important? Try to build your answer on these points, whether it is presentation skills, whether you are into a negotiation. Look at the various points written on the slide, and do you agree that communication runs through all these and many more points? And why do you think it's important to present well, to negotiate well, to communicate well? Why do you think that's important? Look at the cross-cultural communication, and many of you as young boys and girls growing up, you will be growing up in an economy where the boundaries are getting diluted, right? So you may be working for a company which has a customer base pretty much spread across the world. So how do you ensure that you are not what should I say, hurting a cultural sentiment of someone inadvertently? You may not even know that you're making a mistake. So it's so very important for me to have cultural sensitization when I'm working in a world where my stakeholder could be in some other part of the world. They could have different cultures, and a particular word may have a different meaning in a different culture as compared to our own culture. So why do you think this is important? The reason I feel this is important, it ensures that there are no miscommunications, because in the business world, you will not get a second chance. That's why I believe what we are learning is critical, vital for our employability, because research says, and you can check this out on Google. Economic Times did a research a while back, and they said they checked out what are the top 3 skills that employers are looking for in employees in the future. Number 1, persuasion skills. Number 2, people skills. Number 3, presentation skills. And I believe the backbone of all these 3 P's, persuasion, presentation, people skills, the backbone of this is communication skills. Hence, I feel communication is something that we need to focus upon. Any thoughts on this?
Sir, can you explain what is persuasion skills?
Good point. Persuasion is let us say you have a senior stakeholder, someone who is very, very senior in terms of his or her age and also his or her level in the organization, and you are suggesting that we have a change in one of the processes. So you are suggesting that we need to move from process A and adopt process B. So you are suggesting something called a management of change, so or MOC as it is called. So how will you persuade that person to agree with your proposal and do away with something that they have done for so many years and now accept the new? How do you persuade someone? How do you influence that person? And especially if that person is not aligned with you. Difficult. So how persuasion is, आप अपनी बात बनाएंगे कैसे? आप बार बार तो एक चीज रिपीट नहीं कर सकते, because if you keep on repeating the same thing बार बार, then you are pestering that person, and that could be detrimental. We should not be doing it. So persuading is how do you convert a no into a yes, fully knowing that I cannot convert a no into a yes. I'll repeat what I said, and let me say it slowly, and I want you to listen to me. Persuading is how do you convert someone's initial no to your proposal into a yes, knowing that the no will not become a yes. What should I do? Any thoughts on this?
Sir, can I share one yesterday's my experience?
Please, Pradeep bhai.
Yesterday only I received two emails from one supplier to whom we have ordered for some XYZ material sometimes back, and she is very good to our supply, but she all of a sudden she has sent an email in the morning time that I am unable to execute this order because of, means she has not given any reason, and said, just simply said, I am sorry, I am unable to execute this order. So I've just gone through it and referred the things what we have ordered. And in the evening time, I've tried to convince her. I don't know whether it is the persuasion. I'm not saying anything good for myself, but I've tried to convince him and talk to her in a detail that what is the problem she is facing during this ongoing pandemic situation. And there are multiple things I've explained to her. And in the end, she has agreed partially, or means somewhat to say more than 50%, that okay, if I can't spare, she has an issue of delivering the material of the good quality what we have asked for. And she is having a business with the all multinational companies. She has started business with the Japan. And she said that I always work with more than 100% accuracy and I need minimum 100%. So in the end, she convinced that, okay, I will try. If not, I'm not meeting your deadline. Suppose my deadline was 15th April to deliver the material. But then I requested her and she agreed that, okay, if I'm not meeting your deadline by 15th, I will to get this delivered by after another adding 30 more days or like that.
So good, Pratik bhai. Thank you for that example. And these examples are going to build the learning for each one of us. So what did Pradeep bhai do? Pradeep bhai proposed a different alternative. So my question is, thank you once again, Pradeep bhai, for that example. So the point is, how do you convert a no into yes? You cannot convert a no into yes. What we need to do is, and listen to me carefully, and if you're making notes, please make a note of this. I need to provide new information so that my stakeholder or the person who I'm trying to influence can make a new decision. So I'm not converting that initial no into a yes, because if I do that, then I become a person who is pestering, and that does not help. I need to provide new information, which Pradeep bhai just did, and that's the example that he shared, so that the person is taking a new decision. So persuasion will require each one of us to be able to understand the other person's situation, listen to what is being spoken, be sharp, be agile, be alert, be attentive, so that you can provide new information and help the other person take better decisions, right? So we are going to learn this and many, many more points over this. I don't know how many part series this will be, but over the course of this, the time that we have, we will learn this and many more. Coming back, why is communication skills important? Let's look at a scenario. I want all of you to read this. Is the screen visible to all of you? Say yes or no.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, great. Sir. Okay, so take about 30 seconds, 40 seconds to read the CEO's message to the team of managers. Are you done? Or you're still reading?
Done.
Done? Okay. So what does the team of managers need to do? The managers need to cascade this communication down to their team. right? So this is the CEO sharing his message with his team of managers. Now it is the manager's turn to share it with the department's head. Can you see some difference in the initial message and the second message? Is there a slight difference?
Yes. And the
Okay.
reordering changes the meaning also.
Correct. Right. So for those of you who did not get it, for one more time, this was the CEO's message to the team of managers. And the managers in turn shared this message with their team. Now the department heads also have to share it with their team down the line. So how do they cascade this message to their team? What was the original message? Now, what do the floor managers need to do? The floor managers need to cascade this down to their team of supervisors. I hope you are able to understand and realize something which I'm trying to share with you. I have not yet started the session on communication skills. We are just trying to set up the context why we are doing what we are doing. Read it? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
And finally, the communication happens to the staff. What was the original message? This was the original message. And what got communicated to the people down the line? This also happens to all of us all the time, which we may or may not realize. If we were doing the session face to face, we would have done an activity called Chinese whispers. I don't know why they call it Chinese whispers, but it is just called Chinese whispers. Is that, you whisper into someone's ear a particular message, and that message has to pass on to the next person, then to the next person, then to the next person. And by the time the last person speaks out, the message is everything but what the original message was. What I'm trying to share with you is, what I'm trying to build with all of you is this particular slide. And I think so this summarizes why should we be spending time in building our communication skills, because the single biggest challenge in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. ऐसा भ्रम है कि मैंने जो बोला वही आपने समझा और आपने जो समझा वही मैंने बोला. No, it does not happen. It's an illusion. Why we are doing this session, why am I personally investing my time, is to help all of you, young boys and girls, this particular point. Can one of you explain this slide?
So, in a nutshell, it is trying to say that no matter how great your idea is, but if you can't convey it to the other person in a simple manner in which they can understand, it is of no significance how great the idea is.
That's right. That's right, Ashish. Thank you. And how many times we struggle for the right word. We have a brilliant idea, but we are not able to do two things. We are not able to present ourselves and we are not able to represent ourselves. That idea will remain close between the 2 ears, the 6 inches between your 2 ears. It needs to come out. I need to present it. And I need to present it in super quick time. The point that Prakriti shared, how can you be crisp at one point and detailed at some other point in time? And I know so many people, I'm sure you also know many people who have got brilliant ideas, but are not able to communicate. And my friends, boys and girls, my request to you is please build your English speaking skills as well. You cannot be saying, yeah, that all that, those are called fillers. You have something processing in your mind that is happening in a different language, and you are speaking in a different language. And when that processor is not capable of processing the data in time, the system hangs. तो आपका Samsung phone hang हो गया. So you need, my dear friends, boys and girls, to have good vocabulary. And your vocabulary can only improve by reading. And I've said this a million times in the past, make it 1,000,001 times, that today's reader will become tomorrow's leader. And I'm not sure how many of you are reading books. It hurts me, it pains me. After speaking so many times with so much of passion, hardly anyone is reading books. You have great ideas, but usko aap present kaise karoge? And for some of you who are in college and waiting for your first job, remember, it is important to crack your interview. And in the interview, they will ask you some questions, give you some scenarios, and you'll have to process that scenario and you'll have to speak that answer in a manner which is simple, lucid, comprehensible, and something that the other person understands, can comprehend. I need to be able to comprehend that. That is why we are doing this session. So when we talk about communication skills, what does it mean? Look at some of these points. Do you agree with this point? What does it say? Communication is a static process or a dynamic process?
Dynamic.
Give me an example.
Both important, Anand, communicator and listener, just like a cell phone.
Correct. But ये dynamic process है, वो उसका example अमित साहब बताओ.
फीडबैक, अगर लिसनर ने सही फीडबैक दिया तो ही मैसेज बराबर अप्रोप्रिएट कम्युनिकेट हुआ. अगर फीडबैक रिसीव नहीं हुआ, सपोज अभी मैं बोल रहा हूं और आप मेरे को फीडबैक दे रहे हैं, अगर मैं वो फीडबैक मेरे पास नहीं आ रहा है, दैट मींस दिस इज नॉट अ डायनेमिक प्रोसेस.
Correct. So that is one part, Amit bhai. Thank you for sharing that, Amit bhai, for that answer. वो loop की बात हो गई. Sender है, receiver है, जो मैसेज मैंने दिया, वो रिसीवर ने रिसीव किया और फिर वो मुझे फीडबैक या तो देता है या तो मैं वो फीडबैक सॉलिड सेट करता हूँ. दैट्स अ डिफरेंट पॉइंट. डायनामिक प्रोसेस, व्हाट डज इट मीन? बेसिकली इट मीन्स जो आप कहना चाहते हो, जो आपने तैयारी करी है, वैसे ही फ्लो में आपकी कम्युनिकेशन होगा, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. देयर इज अ स्किल दैट इज कॉल्ड आई नीड टू थिंक ऑन माय फीट. Because let's say you are preparing for an interview as an example, and you have prepared all the possible questions that are generally asked in an interview, and the interviewer does not ask you anything that you prepared for. Let us say he or she, the first question that that person asks you is, okay Anand, tell me something about the failures of your life. And suddenly, I don't know what to say. It's a very dynamic process. I need to be agile, and I've spoken about agility a lot. I need to be able to process those thoughts and able to speak it as lucidly, as fluently I would speak in my mother tongue. It's a dynamic process. It is not. It's not a SOP that after this question will be asked, after this question will be asked. I need to be flexible. It's a dynamic process. Hence, it requires me to prepare. Feedback and all that, Amit Bhai said, fantastic point, very important. Adding to that, remember, it's a dynamic process. The feedback given by that person may be that he or she is not understanding anything that you're saying. How do you cope with that situation? Point number one. Point number two. Can one of you explain this point? This is a rather simple point.
So through communication, we share our feelings, thoughts to the person who is in front of us.
Correct. So it's a process. And in that process, what Amit Bhai said comes handy here, that I, as a sender of the communication, need to ensure that the receiver is receiving the same point that I'm trying to convey. Hence, I either solicit, seek a feedback, or I observe a feedback, which generally we do not do. And in virtual sessions, this is very, very difficult because I cannot see you. I'm just listening to a voice. And then minus visuals, communication becomes very, very difficult. And hence, in a virtual age, many of us are going to continue to communicate in a virtual age. Face-to-face communication is not going to happen as frequently as it is to happen before Corona hit us. In the times after Corona, we all need to learn how to communicate in a virtual world, which is difficult. Why are we learning what we want to learn? Is because how it is received depends upon a set of events, stimulus that a person is exposed to. And I have no idea whether that person is even listening to me. Like some of you, as I'm talking, you would be doing something else. You may be checking your WhatsApp message. I see so many people who are talking to someone, they put their phone on a speaker phone and they're checking something else. That's not communication. That's not listening. And I, as a person speaking in the virtual world, have no idea what are your stimulus, what are the set of events that you are exposed to. And hence, the way I communicate in a virtual world is very different from the way we communicate in the face-to-face world. And I did a couple of certification courses from leading universities on communicating in a virtual world. I'm going to build all that content that I learned and share it with all of you in the time that we have with us. And how you say what you say plays an important role, if not even more important role. If you're making notes, you may want to write this down. In verbal communication, the importance of words is only 7%. Only 7%. More than 90% of communication is non-verbal. So write it down. 7% words, the tonality with which you speak, your tone is 38% and your body language is 55%. And we will look at the tone, the body language elements of this in this entire series. Starting with, how do you even introduce yourself? How do you ensure that the modulations while you are introducing yourself are proper? You are not going flat. I hear so many people introducing themselves, they say their name, but I don't understand their name. And I hope all of you on the call, we are about 26, 27 of us on the call. I hope all of us, when we introduce ourselves, we would want the other person to remember our name. So how do you speak in a manner the other person wants to listen? We all, without an exception, need to improve our abilities to do that. And we're going to talk a lot about it. And the communication process that Amit Bhai was talking about is there. Now, my question to you is, you may take a screenshot of this. Take about 60 seconds to think about what are the goals of communication. What could be 3, 4, 5 goals of the whole element of communicating? Think about it.
Convey our message.
That's right. That could be one.
To pass out our message and get feedback.
So to pass on your message and get feedback, okay?
Get someone to take an action, like
Okay,
you
that's a
want
good
them to
answer.
do
To
something.
take action. Okay, so good point. 3 good answers. Some more answers.
To efficiently answer someone's query or question
Efficiently or effectively, Ashish?
effectively in the right
Correct.
manner.
Correct. Efficiently is something that always comes second. The first is effectiveness. Remember, effectiveness is doing the right things. Efficiency is doing things right. So good answers.
Got
For
it.
those of you who are making notes, the goal of communication could be to inform. You are providing information that could be used in decision making or in any other element, right? So one of the goals, there could be many, I've just highlighted a few. The first of the many goals of communication could be to inform. And I need to ensure when I'm informing, the other person is receiving it in the same manner. The second is a request. Now, when I'm informing, my modulations will be different, and when I'm requesting, my modulations will be different. Yes or no?
Yes.
And this needs practice. Remember, for all of you, as you step into the professional life and as you grow in your professional life, these are elements that become very, very important and crucial. And unfortunately, school, college is teaching this. So you need to practice this. It comes to us relatively easier when we have to do it within a known group of people and in a language that we are comfortable. As I get into an uncomfortable zone where the people are not familiar, I do not have an equation with them, it becomes slightly difficult, and even more difficult when I have to do that in a language which is not my native language. Number 3 could be to persuade. And that was one of the questions, that what is persuasion? And I did talk about how do you persuade people. Number 3 or number 4 is to build relationships. And at the end of the day, all that matters is how well you are able to build meaningful relationships, not transactional relationships. I've known so many of my friends and colleagues, the minute they move out of a particular team or move out of the organization, they don't seem to keep in contact. They don't communicate. They will only communicate when they have some work. So then you are becoming an opportunistic person you're not building meaningful relationship. 4 are the points that I highlighted. There could be 40 more, there could be 400 more, but I need to be clear, why am I talking? I need to be clear, why am I communicating? What is the intent of my communication? Before you write an email, check, why do you want to write this email? When you're sending an official message to someone, check, why am I sending this communication? Will it be better to pick up the phone and talk? Always check, and we are going to talk about this in detail, what is the best medium of communication that I should use? Is email the best? Is WhatsApp message the best? Or is a voice call the best? Or is it a video call that will be more effective? Or is it face-to-face? Face-to-face may not be possible in the times that we are passing through, but in normal life, what is the best route that I use to communicate? What is the best channel that I deploy to communicate? And when to use email, when to use a WhatsApp, when to use other mediums of communication, all this and more we will cover in the series. Next question. When we talk about effective communication, what are some of the features that make the communication effective? Any thoughts on this? There are some mosquitoes where I'm sitting. I'm just using a tennis racket to. Okay, so what are the features of effective communication?
Clear speech.
Tell more about that. What do you mean by your speech?
I meant clear speech.
Clear speech, correct, right? So what
Sir,
is clear speech?
Your tone.
The tone could be one.
If the person is speaking slowly, then we should also speak in that manner.
So what is slow and what is fast? That's a good point. So 2 questions to both of you. One is, what is clear speech? And what do you mean by slow and fast?
Like the person should not use a lot of time while expressing.
Correct. Again, my
That's
question.
an
Sorry,
appropriate.
I'll be pushing you. Sorry for that. But what do you mean by the person should not take a lot of time? Because that's a very subjective statement. That's a good answer. But as I said, we need to move away from just being qualitative. We should also learn how to be quantifiable. That's a good point. I like the way you're thinking. So tell us more about what is fast and slow, what is clear speech.
The time gap between each words should be appropriate.
Good answer. Let me push you further. Sorry for pushing you. What should be an ideal time gap between 2 words? Or broadly speaking, in a minute, how many words should I speak? Maybe many of you have not given this a thought, but let me just. 60 will be like Atal Bihari Vajpayee sir, too slow. If you have heard Atal Bihari Vajpayee sir, you will know that between his first word and the second word, tea break later. You can go and enjoy a cup of tea or coffee, right? So that could be too slow. And we should not be like the Australians who speak very, very fast. The West Indians, they speak even faster. If you have heard someone from Texas in the US, people from Texas speak even faster. A good speed is anywhere between 120 to 160 words in a minute. Now don't start counting how many words am I speaking, but you may want to record yourself whenever you are speaking and check if you are under 120 or above 160. Under 120 does not make it effective in most occasions, but it could be if you're counseling someone, if you are doing a session which is more of therapy, mental therapy, you may want to be really slow when you're talking. Give enough time for that person to think, comprehend, soak in your inputs, and anything above 160 is really difficult for us to understand, right? So a good speed is anywhere between 120 to 160 words, right? So good point. Thank you for those two answers. When I talk about effective or the features of effective listening, the first point that I want to highlight is listening. Are we listening to understand, or are we listening to reply? And we are going to talk about this for maybe 2 or 3 Saturdays. Don't miss the series on listening, because I'm going to share something with you that you will not find in one place in any of the social media. So this is coming from, I don't know how many books that I have read, how many courses that I have done, all that I've kind of put it into a module, and I'm going to share it with you. So what makes communication effective? Good listening. And most of us, majority of us, almost all of us do not know how to listen. We only hear. We'll talk more about this. Second is your eye contact. And how do you maintain eye contact in a virtual world where people don't, put on their videos? And it is out of professional courtesy to ask someone to put on his or her video, because they may not be dressed appropriately for a virtual session. If I want an all video on session, I need to tell that person or that group of people in advance that when we meet next time, we will have a video on session so that they can be dressed appropriately. That's a new challenge that we face in communication. Eye contact, very, very important. Number 3 is your posture. Very important. Very, very. We'll look at an acronym called PEOPLE. PEOPLE. P stands for your posture. E stands for your eye contacts. O stands for your orientation. P, the other P stands for your physical proximity. L stands for your looks. And the last E stands for your expression of emotions. We will look at this and more when we talk about the body language element of communication. Use simple language. Don't be like, what is his name? Shashi Tahur. Some of the words that he uses, you need a dictionary to understand. So your communication should be simple, lucid, and easily understood by most people. It is a myth to think that when you use some big words, flowery words, you will be more effective. No, it is the other way around. You need to be as simple as possible. And we are looking at questioning skills. We'll look at probing skills, right? And talking about effective of communication. And in case you are in a culture where you are struggling for some words, if your vocabulary is short, you may be put into an embarrassing position, like this lady found herself in a pretty embarrassing position. Watch this funny little video. I'm sure you don't want to get into that situation. This was just for fun, right? And remember, I need to know the words. Otherwise, you will say and by the time you get the word in your mind, it is pretty embarrassing. We will also cover in depth in this entire series the 7 C's of communication, which I'm sure all of you would have learned in your college. Can I ask one of you to share what are the 7 C's?
Sir, correctness.
Okay, so yeah, that's right, Ashish. Yeah. So you should be correct in your communication. Good, Bijal Saab, thank you.
Clear and crisp.
Clear and crisp. Okay, so we got 2. clear and correct.
Sir, concrete.
Concrete is the third one, correct? Please don't Google and answer your questions.
No.
Just joking.
Google नहीं sir, मैंने.
Just joking, my friend.
Yes,
Okay, let me pick up someone. Shyam, you have not spoken for a while. So tell me, what are the other 4 of the 7 C's?
Sir, I don't have any idea with this.
Okay, no worries.
That's why I am here.
No worries. Okay, so I thank you for being honest in this regard. So the 7 C's, not in a particular order, are number 1, I need to be courteous. We'll look at what courteous means and why is it important for us to understand. The second is I need to be concise, crisp, right? And to the point. I cannot be taking 10 words to explain what could be explained in maybe 3 words. And especially when it comes to written communication, I find it so difficult to understand. People from good colleges, some great academics, they just don't write in a good professional manner. You need to learn that, right? And we're going to talk about it. I'll share everything that I know to help you build on this. Number 3, it has to be complete. And many of us don't have completeness in our communication. I'm going. Okay, where? What is the mode of transport? Why? Right. So let's look at the completeness of communication. The number 4 of the 7 C's is it needs to be concrete. Number 5, and don't worry, don't think what these words are. I'll explain each of these words. It has to be coherent. I cannot be looking Tokyo and talking London, right? It has to be coherent and it has to be correct, like Ashish said, and it is very important to be clear in our communication. What each of these means? Can one of you explain what's written on the slide?
It's about being polite.
What is being polite?
Not being rude.
I love that answer. Yeah, correct. But there is this last line on the screen which says you could be passively aggressive in your tone.
Is passive aggressive an indication of power in any form or your position?
Could be, not necessarily is the case, because you can influence from 3 sources. Can anyone tell me what are the 3 sources of influence?
One has to be action, I guess.
Okay, so one could be action. Gargi is there on the call. Gargi, tell me what are the 3 possible sources of influence?
Body
So
language.
as I'm asking, Natasha is standing next to me and saying that ye to mujhe aata hai, right? So the 3 sources of influence are, number 1, you could influence using your position. It's also called the source of power. You could also influence using your expertise, your domain expertise, your knowledge. And the third, and for me, the most important and the most sustainable source of influencing is relationships. So what is that I'm using to influence? And if I'm being passive aggressive in my tone, definitely you are not using the third one. right? And we're going to talk about this. This is not even a trailer of the entire series that we are going to cover. And I'm just using this so that all of you don't miss the sessions that will happen each Saturday at the same time using the same link, right? So learn the importance of having courtesy, being courteous in your communication. And while you're courteous, ensure that we are not being passive, aggressive. And we'll take examples and I'll show some videos of this as well. The second is, can anyone explain what this is?
Sir, to speak to the point.
That's right. That's right. And this requires practice. What I have learned in my career is whenever I have to make a presentation to an important stakeholder, to a very, very senior stakeholder, what I have realized is they don't give us too much of time. They'll give us time in odd numbers, let's say 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. And I need to be able to process in my mind everything that I have to say in 7 minutes and not missing out on the key vital things. And I found it very difficult to do it when I started presenting to senior people. And this opportunity I got when I was in HCL Technologies, and I got a chance to present to the board of directors and the CEOs and the CXOs as they call. And then I just had no idea. I still remember my first presentation, and here was the leadership team, the senior leadership team, the board of Merck, one of the largest pharma companies in the world. And this person looked at his watch and said, Anand, you have got 7 minutes and your time starts now. And I was wondering, 7 minutes? I take more than 7 minutes just to introduce myself. And that set the ball rolling in terms of learning how to be concise and precise in your communication. Precision is even important, right? We'll talk more about this in the sessions to follow. What do you mean by this?
What is the best way to make the concise presentation? What need to practice for
Practice,
that?
practice, and more practice. So that's a great question. So to answer this question in a separate manner, in a different manner, if I have got little time to present, I need to have a lot of time to prepare. And if I've got a lot of time to present, I may not require a lot of time to prepare. Right? So the shorter the presentation, in my opinion, in my experience, it requires greater amount of time for me to prepare, because I need to be clear. I need to practice, rehearse, and rehearse. So if you go to YouTube and check out Steve Jobs, one of the best presenters, one of the best person to do product launches, there is this short, nice, beautiful video on Steve Jobs. You can just go to YouTube and write down Steve Jobs on presentations. There he talks about rehearse, practice, rehearse. That's it. So how to ensure that I remain concise, crisp, precise? The answer is preparation, rehearsals, very, very important. And then I need to be complete also. I cannot be giving incomplete information. It has to be complete in all regard. That is what makes it a challenge as far as communicating in a little window of opportunity that I and you have. It has to be concrete, ensure that the entire message has important details and facts. Very, very important. I'm just rushing through the slides because it is time for us to close. It has to be coherent. Does it make sense? Is it well connected? Is it relevant? So I cannot, as I said earlier, be looking at London and talking Tokyo. It has to be in a flow. It has to be relevant, and everything has to kind of match up, and it has to be correct. When you're quoting something, make sure you have got source of that particular information. You cannot just pull up any number and give any number. You need to be accurate in terms of the data that you are sharing, the facts that you are sharing, especially when you are presenting to senior stakeholders. They will catch you like this because they are very, very good with numbers. They are brilliant with numbers and data. So you and I need to be clear about what is the source of that information that I am sharing, and that source has to be credible. It cannot be, I Googled it and I found it. No, it has to come from a credible source, and not everything on Google is precise and accurate. Right? We need to ensure that precision, which I spoke about, and it has to be clear. Why should your communication be clear? If the communication is not clear, this is what possibly could happen.
Fault, and it'll be an exercise in building trust between one another. So Harrison, if you don't mind going first, step up here on this chair and close your eyes. All right, and then everybody fill in, and we're going to ask you to fall, and then they will catch you. So you have to trust us. I'm going to count to 3. Just relax and fall. Okay? 1, 2, 3. No!
So you need to be clear in your communication. Okay, you need to fall, but forward or back. And this is what happens when we do not follow the 7 C's of communication. And it is time for me to invite you for the next session, which will be on business communication. The entire series, as I said earlier, is built on the foundation of business communication. And I'm going to start with listening skills, right? So it's about a minute to go till 8 o'clock, right? So we start on time and we will end on time. Today I've got some technical issues starting on time while I was there on time, but could not connect my laptop. So apologies for that, but we will connect again same time using the same link, and we will talk about the communication. We will look at how we communicate. We look at writing. We will look at reading. We will look at speaking. We will look at listening. We will look at communicating through using various gestures and various postures. Right. So we will look at these 4 elements. This and a lot more. As I said, we will look at assertiveness. We will look at conflict management. We will look at understanding people, and a host of other things in this series, right? So that's it in the time that I had today, and we will talk more about listening skills on next Saturday, right? So any thoughts, questions, suggestions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Bilal sir, nice to see you on the call after a long time. Thank you for the message that you nudged me and shared with me the other day. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
So if there are no thoughts, let me hand it over back to Patel sir for his closing comments.
Yes, thank you. I think it seems that we are going to have really far more useful. Different is one, but it's going to be far more useful, and preparing people for the working life in a way. Though initially I thought that it is more of a communication which will build relationships and the typical communication topics that we. But here is something which is going to be very useful in the business life, and to that extent even a personal life. And it's going to be fairly a large number of sessions will be taken. That's what I can see now. So every time you start a series, it has more number of slides.
That's right. I already in my deck have close to 600 slides. So even if you cover 20 slides.
We also need to look at the issue of the videos are not coming out well. So maybe Ashish should look into it. Why is the videos not? Or maybe
okay, so the videos did not come out well?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Our
I
side
didn't
it
get the
was
point.
okay. Our side it was fine video.
So maybe some network issues at some places could be there.
Good. One thing is in communication session, two-way communication. You are also interacting with the participants, so it is real good communication session.
Thank you, Ashwin bhai. Thank you.
No, at times, he makes it very difficult for people. They have no other option but to be very, very attentive.
That's right.
And we are lucky that we have participants like Prakriti, who in any case is always available to answer you.
That's right. That's right. There are a few who are always there. So thank you for all of them who at least answer some of my questions. Right. But yeah, I'm sure as time goes by, others will also step in. And when I was preparing this content, I was just having this thought in my mind. I wish someone taught me this when I was in my 20s. I would have done certainly way better than what I have done. But anyways, right? So what we could not do, we should ensure that the next generation is benefiting from our failures.